What up? Zach Bradshaw, long-winded guy here. Back again with another trading journal. I think this one's number 4. And I just wanted to catalog what happened yesterday. So um, I ended up, um, like I said in the video yesterday, um, cashing out or taking profit on a small bit of my position. And what I really did, as you can see, I got the error there. So I set it as a limit order on Coinbase Pro. And so it got up to my price in this hour right here. I was really close to the top on this candle specifically. But if I would have been trading this, I would have been actually playing this break. So as soon as it broke this price, maybe got up to something like here, I would buy, and then I would be looking for upside to 63 or maybe to 64, depending on what I was trying to do with that trade. Well, that's not what I was trying to do with that trade. My original buys, and this is something that I just remembered yesterday, and went back and looked through all this. I still have small pieces, very small pieces of, well, some of it has already moved to my other wallet, but very small pieces of this I actually bought it in the $32-$35 range, right? Or not $32-$35, but 3,200, and I guess that's 35.50 there. And so some of my positions here are still gaining off of that, which actually, now that this has gone up so much, I kind of want to take another bit of this small position that I have, and send it over to like my Bitcoin savings wallet. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to set something like a stop loss around the 6,000 or 6,100, maybe around this like level right here that was, resistance, and then really weak support right here, just so that I don't lose any of this like 2x that I've gotten, because I bought at 32, and I might as well cash out at 6,000. That's like not a bad trade. Then all of my other buys that are still live here, I had some trades around the $4,000, like through this range right here, that weren't like, I got stopped out a couple times by some of these long wicks, but then eventually ended up getting a buy, something I think it was like 4,000 even, that ended up selling out some of it here. Bought some more, sold out some of that here, as you can see, and then there's some more sales that I did at the market price that are not giving me these arrows telling me where I bought and sold. You see, like, I definitely had another buy in here somewhere, that is part of that position sold right here, but it's not giving me that green arrow because it wasn't a limit buy. This one was a limit buy, and I guess you see it was actually below 4,000, and maybe this is, I could have even stopped out of this position and then bought again. I'm really not sure where I bought on those. And eventually I will come through in here and I will catalog all the way from my first buy, which I think was like probably 12,000, and I played it to 14,000, then sold out, and then bought again at 8 and sold at 10 or something like that, when after Bitcoin had the big run up, then was like on its way back down, but going, $2,000 in a week or something like that. Now that this has gotten above this area here, and it seems, to me, prone to go higher, I think this is just going to crush people's souls, is what I think. I think that this wants to come up to 8,000 or 10,000, and then it's going to get smacked down brutally, and maybe we end up at that $1,300 range or below 3,000, like Hyperwave and Tone. Wow, that looks like I'm a great trader looking at those arrows, and except when you look at these arrows, right? Well, I mean, I guess you can't see my buys here, but there's lots of potential in my eyes for this to keep going higher, just because there's so many, there's not many retail traders in crypto, according to some of the sources that I look at, but it seems to me like there's so many novice traders. Like, of the retail traders who are here, they are like no discipline, no money management rules, have no idea about risk, and are really like want to watch a couple dudes videos and make trades off of them. And that's clearly to an extent what I'm doing, where even today I'm listening to Tone Vay's podcast from last night. I'm thinking that this might go up to 65, and just in my theory, because people are thinking it's going to stop here, I think it's going to go further. Like, it seems like every single time that the consensus was this is the level, or this is the level, or this is the level, it got smacked like y'all thought. And so I think this is going to go higher, and then people are going to start calling for 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000, and it's going to get just like crushed, because there's people in here who are buying who are going to want to sell and take profit at 8,000 or take profit at 10,000. And at a certain point, the the momentum of that swings. And you know, people would have thought it would have been above 6,000 or below 6,000. That never made full sense to me. I thought that it would be 52 or 55, something like that, and it wouldn't get to 6,000. Or now, I don't know. You know, I'm no pro trader, and my opinions evolve as I go. But it seems to me like it's going higher. Might go up here to 68 or 62, or it may get, you know, stopped in this range where there's a whole lot of trading back here, and then eventually come back down and maybe get a pull back to 42. If it goes up higher, then like this does not look like a bottom, right? This looks like another fake out. Like when y'all thought it was bouncing, when y'all thought it was bouncing, when y'all thought it was bouncing, and it looks like that would just be a weird looking bottom. You know, I'm sure I'm not a expert on markets, but I've never seen anything like that where something came down, did this awful, like lost half of its value, did a awful. I mean, this could be a cup and handle, right? But it would just be a really weird way for this market to go, and this seems like a really short time frame compared to this whole time frame here, and then previous time frames of run-ups as well. So when I look at this on a daily chart, I was having fun yesterday, and I, you know, deleted it off, but there's a hyperbolic aspect to this. Maybe I can do it better on a hourly chart. There's a hyperbolic aspect to this, at least in the way that I'm looking at it, where this thing is following a curve, or at least you can create a curve that this move is following, right? Let's just do those right there, and then move this one. Oh, zoom out is so difficult here. Move that in a little bit more. Move this up. Why is that? Oh. Put this like this. I'm no expert with drawing these curves, but you see it's finally looking like it wants to do what it was doing yesterday. I'm sorry. You know, similar to those steeper lines that I was drawing yesterday. The way that I think about this is that once this breaks this crazy curve that it's doing, I'm not sure what the heck this curve is. Like, I've never even seen anything like this. But you see, is like there's a bunch of different ways that I can make the support look like it's going if I want to have it follow different patterns, right? And so there's obviously levels to this, and this is like some made up Zach Bradshaw stuff, that I'd be curious to see how long it holds this curve. And I wish I had saved my curve from yesterday. That seemed like it was drawn perfectly, to see if it's now broken that, because the curve followed perfectly with, let me just zoom in massively. The curve followed perfectly with, well, you know what? Let's see. I was over here. I'm not sure which of these groups of candles it was following perfectly with, but it seemed like the way that I drew it the first time, no matter what, the next candle, unless it mooned, was going to break that original curve. So that curve, for me, I'm sure it's broken, because it hasn't gone like in a hyperbolic way, but I wonder what the correct curve for this is. Like, there's obviously a curve that would fit this better than the curves that I'm doing, and I'm wondering what types of curved indicators or things like that I might be able to find that can help me use something like this in the future. Because as I looked back, you can draw a curve, and you know, maybe make some assumptions based on curves in lots of other parts of the Bitcoin market, and you can probably do that across a variety of other assets. You see, like, now that this is drawn on the hourly and I zoom out to the daily, it looks a lot better, but it's still not how I want it. It's not how it was yesterday. But you can see that, well, I mean, it's looking like it's holding some good old support now. Yeah, I guess it must have been, well, this is daily, so I guess maybe it stayed within the curve, or at least now the new way that I've drawn it. and maybe the next one goes up, or if it falls out of this, it's done, right? So maybe we have a chance to 65, then maybe we have a chance to 68 after that, but it's got to be like the next day, the next day, the next day. Now, when I was looking at Tone Vays earlier this morning, he was talking about on the weekly, the sequential shows, I think it was 5 or 6 more weeks of upside because we're on either a green 3 or a green 2, which means that I won't set a manual stop, or I won't set a stop at 62. I will just watch the price to see what it does, because it very well may pull back to 62 and then explode up to 68, or just like slowly continue some of this action that it's doing here, maybe follow off of this almost hyperbolic run up here, but come down here, maybe establish a little bit of support, and keep running, because there's, you know, the time factor is something that I'm still learning about. I'll may or may not, I don't think I have time for it, buy Tone's next webinar on TD Sequential. I want to buy his other one first, just so I understand his like mindset and frameworks, and then be able to apply that to his version of the TD Sequential. But I'm interested in the time, and it seems like it does play a major factor. When Tone points out these 9s or these 13s, where he says there's this much, you know, more upside available, it seems like it plays out that way quite a bit. Now there's a stray dog roaming around outside, and I'm gonna handle that. He is just a menace to the neighborhood, and if he comes in my yard, my dog might eat him. So I just wanted to make sure he didn't come in my yard. So I'll stop rambling about this. You probably got the point. I think there could be some more weeks of upside based on what Tone says. You know, the longer time frames always make better sense to me to pay attention to. But I'm curious to see what's going to happen. So I'm gonna, you know, I'm taking my profits at 6,000 or more, right? Like, I'm not letting this come back down into here before I take my profits, because some of my well, I'm out of my position that I got in at 53. I'm not sure where that was. I think it was probably on some type of breakout or something like that. Probably a break of these levels. Probably bought somewhere in here and then sold immediately because I got my little run. But I kept part of that. Then I have a position from 5,000 that is almost gone. And then I still have a little bit of pieces from down here that I really want to make sure that I lock in above the 58 or the 56, just because that's a, you know, let's look at this percentage. Right now I'm sitting on a 60% gain off of that. That's great. But you know, it could go to 100%. Oh my gosh, why does this thing do this now? It might go to 100% gain, or a 200% gain if I'm just a little bit more patient. But here I'm sitting at a nice 50%, right? 50% gain off of my positions. So that's good enough for me. And you know, this is just another day in the Bitcoin market, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Thanks for listening to Zach Learning Trading. Certainly don't take any of this as trading advice. I'm just trying to figure this out and document my stuff. If you watch the other ones and you understand what's going on here. So until next time, Zach Bradshaw, long-winded guy. Peace.